National Electrical Code Section 240.24 addresses the location of overcurrent devices. The code emphasizes accessibility, protection from physical damage, and avoidance of easily ignitable materials. Specifically, 240.24b deals with occupancy, stating that each occupant should have ready access to all overcurrent devices, protecting the conductor supplying that occupancy. However, there are exceptions. Exception number 1 allows service and feed-out overcurrent devices supplying more than one occupancy to be accessible only to authorized management personnel in multiple occupancy buildings and guest rooms or guest suites of hotels and motels intended for transient occupancy, provided electric service and electrical maintenance are provided by the building management and are under continuous building management supervision. Exception number 2 extends this to branch circuit overcurrent devices supplying guest rooms or guest suites, permitting access only to authorized management personnel under the same conditions of management provided electric service and electrical maintenance. 240.24c mandates that overcurrent devices be located where they will not be exposed to physical damage. The fine print note references 110.11, which discusses deteriorating agents, further emphasizing the need to protect these devices. 240.24d states that overcurrent devices shall not be located in the vicinity of easily ignitable material, such as enclosed closets. This is a critical safety measure to prevent fire hazards. 240.24e prohibits the location of overcurrent devices, other than supplementary overcurrent protection, in bathrooms of dwelling units and guest rooms or guest suites of hotels and motels. The question at hand is whether 240.24d, which prohibits placing overcurrent devices near easily ignitable materials like those found in closed closets, applies to hotels. Although the section does not explicitly mention hotels, the wording regarding easily ignitable material is intentionally broad. Closed closets, regardless of whether they are in a dwelling unit, hotel room, or any other occupancy, typically contain clothing and other textiles that are considered easily ignitable. Therefore, placing overcurrent devices within or directly adjacent to a closed closet would violate the intent and the letter of 240.24d. The exception that 240.24e specifically mentions hotels and motels in relation to bathrooms is significant. This explicit reference suggests that other subsections of 240.24, including D, are also intended to apply to hotels and motels unless explicitly stated otherwise. The NEC often uses specific references to clarify the application of a rule in certain contexts. The absence of a specific exclusion for hotels in 240.24d indicates that the rule applies to them. The reasoning behind prohibiting overcurrent devices in closed closets is straightforward. Firstly, clothes and other stored items in closets are often made of flammable materials. Secondly, closets are typically enclosed spaces, which can allow a fire to spread rapidly if one were to ignite. Thirdly, overcurrent devices, while designed to protect circuits, can themselves be a source of ignition if they fail or are improperly installed. For example, a loose connection at a breaker can cause arcing, generating enough heat to ignite nearby materials. Consider a scenario where an overcurrent device in a closed closet experiences a fault. The resulting arc flash could easily ignite clothing stored in the closet. The fire could then spread quickly, potentially endangering occupants and causing significant property damage. This risk is not unique to dwelling units, it exists in hotels and motels as well. Furthermore, the potential for overloading circuits in hotel rooms is considerable. Guests may bring a variety of electronic devices, appliances, and chargers, which can place a significant demand on the electrical system. An overloaded circuit is more likely to trip an overcurrent device, and if that device is located in a closed closet, the risks associated with a potential ignition are heightened. The NEC primary goal is to ensure electrical safety, and this principle guides the interpretation of its rules. When in doubt, it is always best to err on the side of caution and interpret the code in a way that minimizes risk. In the case of 240.24d, applying the rule to hotels is consistent with the overall objective of preventing electrical fires. It is also important to consider the practical implications of this interpretation. If overcurrent devices cannot be placed in closed closets in hotels, where should they be located? The answer depends on the specific design of the hotel room and the requirements of other NEC sections. Some possible locations include surface-mounted panels in hallways, recessed panels in walls outside of closets, or in dedicated electrical closets or rooms. The key is to choose a location that is accessible for maintenance, protected from physical damage, and free from easily ignitable materials. Moreover, it is essential to ensure that the location complies with all other applicable NEC requirements, such as those related to working space and clearances. The installation of overcurrent devices should always be performed by qualified electricians who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. They can assess the specific conditions of the installation and ensure that it meets all applicable requirements. In summary, while NEC Section 240.24d does not explicitly mention hotels, its prohibition against locating overcurrent devices near easily ignitable materials, such as enclosed closets, applies to hotels due to the inherent fire risk associated with such locations. Section 240.24e specific mention of hotels and motels in relation to bathrooms supports the idea that the other subsections, including d, also apply to hotels unless explicitly stated otherwise. By adhering to this interpretation, electricians and building managers can help to ensure the safety of hotel guests and prevent electrical fires. Therefore, it's important to locate overcurrent devices away from closed closets and other areas where ignitable materials are present. A deeper dive into the nuances of the NEC and its application to specific scenarios reveals several key considerations. Firstly, the scope of the NEC. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards designed to ensure the safe installation of electrical wiring and equipment. It applies to a wide range of occupancies, including residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. Hotels fall under the commercial category, and therefore, the NEC generally applies to them unless specific exceptions are provided. Secondly, the interpretation of general rules. The NEC often contains general rules that apply to all occupancies, as well as specific rules that apply only to certain types of occupancies. When interpreting the NEC, it is important to consider both the general rules and the specific rules that may be applicable. In the case of 240.24d, the rule is stated in general terms and does not explicitly exclude hotels. Therefore, it should be interpreted as applying to hotels unless there is a clear reason to believe otherwise. Thirdly, the purpose of the rule. The NEC rules are not arbitrary. They are based on sound engineering principles and are intended to address specific safety concerns. In the case of 240.24d, the purpose of the rule is to prevent electrical fires by keeping overcurrent devices away from flammable materials. This purpose applies equally to hotels as it does to other occupancies. Fourthly, the potential for misinterpretation. One of the challenges of interpreting the NEC is that its language can sometimes be ambiguous or open to interpretation. This can lead to disagreements among electricians, inspectors, and other stakeholders. To minimize the potential for misinterpretation, it is important to consult with qualified experts and to consider the intent of the code as a whole. Fifthly, the role of local amendments. While the NEC is a national standard, it is often adopted and amended by local jurisdictions. These local amendments may add, delete, or modify the NEC requirements to address specific local conditions. It is important to be aware of any local amendments that may be in effect in the area where the electrical work is being performed. Sixthly, the importance of documentation. When making decisions about electrical installations, it is important to document the reasoning behind those decisions. This documentation can be helpful in resolving disputes and in demonstrating compliance with the NEC. It is also important to keep accurate records of all electrical work that is performed, including the location of overcurrent devices and other equipment. Seventhly, the need for ongoing training. The NEC is updated on a regular basis to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It is important for electricians and other electrical professionals to stay up to date on the latest NEC requirements by participating in ongoing training and education. Eighthly, the value of professional judgment. While the NEC provides a set of rules to follow, it also recognizes that there are situations where professional judgment is required. Electricians and other electrical professionals must use their knowledge and experience to make decisions that are in the best interest of safety. Ninthly, the liability considerations. Electrical work is inherently dangerous, and mistakes can have serious consequences. Electricians and other electrical professionals should be aware of their potential liability for errors or omissions in their work. They should carry adequate insurance to protect themselves against claims of negligence. Tenthly, the ethical obligations. Electricians and other electrical professionals have an ethical obligation to protect the public safety. This means that they must always put safety first, even if it means making unpopular decisions or incurring additional costs. In the context of hotels, several specific considerations should be taken into account. The design of hotel rooms can vary widely, and some rooms may have unusual or unconventional layouts. It is important to carefully assess the layout of each room to determine the best location for overcurrent devices. Hotels often have a high turnover of guests, and guests may not be familiar with the electrical system in the room. It is important to provide clear and easy to understand instructions on how to operate the electrical system and how to report any problems. Hotels often have a large number of electrical devices and appliances, which can place a heavy load on the electrical system. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is adequately sized to handle the anticipated load. Hotels often have a complex electrical distribution system with multiple panels and subpanels. It is important to clearly label all panels and subpanels to facilitate maintenance and troubleshooting. Hotels often have emergency power systems to provide backup power in the event of a power outage. It is important to regularly test and maintain these systems to ensure that they are in good working order. Hotels often have fire alarm systems to detect and alert occupants to the presence of a fire. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is compatible with the fire alarm system and that the two systems are properly integrated. Hotels often have security systems to protect guests and property. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is compatible with the security system and that the two systems are properly integrated. Hotels often have communication systems to provide telephone, internet, and television service to guests. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is compatible with the communication system and that the two systems are properly integrated. Hotels often have lighting control systems to manage the lighting in guest rooms and public areas. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is compatible with the lighting control system and that the two systems are properly integrated. Hotels often have heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems to provide comfortable temperatures for guests. It is important to ensure that the electrical system is compatible with the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system and that the two systems are properly integrated. The application of 240.24d to hotels is a matter of interpretation and professional judgment. While the code does not explicitly mention hotels in this section, the intent of the rule is clear to prevent electrical fires by keeping overcurrent devices away from flammable materials. This intent applies equally to hotels as it does to other occupancies. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude that 240.24d applies to hotels and that overcurrent devices should not be located in clothes closets or other areas where easily ignitable materials are present.